what better feeling is there than proving the doubters wrong?
He's hit another home run! Saquon Barkley's the guy!
In 2024, that's exactly what Saquon Barkley did. His ability to consistently make insane play after insane play, video game-like highlights, added to what was a once-in-a-lifetime type of season. One of the greatest seasons for a running back in NFL history, leading the league in rushing yards, touchdowns, and coming just 100 yards short of the regular season rushing record, before absolutely destroying the rushing record with the playoffs included, proving to be one of the greatest running backs the game has ever seen, capping it all off with the greatest reward of them all. But this wouldn't have been possible without the help of one organization. Saquon Barkley's journey to Philadelphia was honestly a weird one that all started with the Giants' reluctancy to pay him.
The New York Giants have placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on running back Saquon Barkley.
Saquon.
Yeah, what's up?
Mulling over this, the right thing to do is let you test the market and see what your value is.
With his injury history, the Giants lost all faith in Saquon, and it all started with his major knee injury.
Twisted as he's going out of bounds, and then looks like he grabs at his right knee.
So as Saquon underwent surgery for his ACL, the Giants proceeded to go 6-10. Saquon spent 3 more years with the Giants, going for 593 yards his first year back to looking like his old self in 2022, rushing for 1,312 yards, helping the Giants upset the Minnesota Vikings 31-24 in the wild card round of the playoffs, getting their first playoff win since 2012, the same year that they won the Super Bowl, before losing to a divisional rival who was, oddly enough, the Philadelphia Eagles. Still, a successful season for the Giants at that time, with Saquon Barkley being one of the key reasons for this success. However, when it got time for a contract extension, the ACL and the injuries before it resulted in the Giants placing him on the franchise tag. But even with that, the future looked somewhat promising for the Giants, until it didn't. Saquon would miss the 1,000-yard mark the following year. Daniel Jones and the offense struggled mightily. The defense wasn't much better either, so instead of the Giants realizing the team as a whole needed improvement, they decided to get rid of the heart and soul of that team.
Because we're not going to franchise him. Like, it doesn't make any sense to franchise him. Daniel's making a lot of money. Like, we got to figure out, is he the guy?
On top of that, the narrative floating around at that time was that the running back was losing most, if not all, of its value. So the Giants had plans to allow another man to lead the franchise. So with that being said, Saquon Barkley had no other choice but to test his value in free agency, eventually signing a 3-year, $38 million deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. And it wouldn't take long for Saquon to make his presence known. Seeing Saquon Barkley in another jersey was honestly a breath of fresh air, a new beginning for a guy who deserved better than his past situation. But now it was time for him to prove it. The Eagles' first game was against the Green Bay Packers, and Saquon would have an amazing debut. 109 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also caught a touchdown in a 34-29 win. It was a fantastic debut, and with that, many, including myself, thought it would be smooth sailing, until it wasn't. The following week, after having a pretty good game against the Falcons, the game would be put in the hands of Saquon Barkley, but this time not on the ground. It was through the air. He would drop what would have been the game-winning play, resulting in the 22-21 loss to the Falcons. Was it all his fault? Absolutely not. But a lot of times football games are won in moments, and in that moment in particular, Saquon Barkley did not show up. And as a player, knowing you had the game-winning play in your hands, it sticks with you and grabs at you, leaving this emotion, this feeling that no one, not even yourself at that time, can explain.
Let my team know today. Shouldn't have put the defense in that position. Made that catch, game's over. Relax, go back to my old habits, and just gotta go back and get back to work.
but what you do after that could potentially define the rest of your season. And for Saquon, well, he will bounce back strong. Against the Saints, he had 147 yards with a 65-yard breakaway, 2 touchdowns, and a 15-12 win. And although this was a great game from the star running back, bouncing back from his less than stellar performance just a week ago, when it came to that particular moment, the following week would be rough. A 33-16 point loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the Philadelphia Eagles will fall behind early, resulting in only 10 carries for Saquon Barkley. He did have 84 yards, but the team as a whole did not have a good day. So the Eagles look to regroup going into their bye week, which is where something clicked for them as a unit. And even though Saquon had arguably his worst game of the season after the bye week, as the Browns' game plan was to stop Saquon as they succeeded with the help of Myles Garrett, the Eagles showed though that they just have too much firepower. With Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith, you add the fact that the Browns still had Watson at quarterback, the chances of them actually winning that game was slim to none. So although Saquon only had 47 yards in that game, the Eagles would win 20-16. It would be the last game Saquon would have less than 3 yards per carry, and he would go for less than 4.5 yards only one more time the entire season, as he would see his highest average in his first game against his old team.
And that is, and there goes a 55-yarder in the first half. He's over 175 in the game.
176 yards on the ground and a touchdown with only 17 total carries. Saquon would get his revenge against his old squad, as the Giants could only watch and envy, as Saquon would do this again and again before he looked to be slowed down by the Dallas Cowboys. I'm joking. There's way more context here. That was a 34-6 blowout where Saquon only had 14 carries but still averaged 4.7 yards per carry. So what happens when you give him at least 20 carries? You see this.
Ground and a first down. Hey, 9 now in the back. Another one. Yes, he does.
And if 146 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns wasn't good enough to make you appreciate the fact that Saquon was having a great season, the following week would be even better.
Big opening. Touchdown. He's got more. What a season.
255 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, a 72-yard breakout run. Saquon was in his own world, and nobody could believe what they were seeing as the MVP chants started to rain out.
You look at the kind of impact that Saquon Barkley has had, there's no denying that he should be right there with Josh Allen.
He ran himself smack dab into the MVP conversation. Now he's on pace to rush for 2,151 yards. If he runs for over 2,100 yards and break Eric Dickerson's long-standing record, he absolutely deserves the MVP. Absolutely deserves the MVP.
Barkley was at 1,392 yards after 11 games, 72 yards ahead of Eric Dickerson when you factor in the extra game from the 17-game season, as his dominance would continue the following 2 weeks, putting him at 1,623 after 13 games. And as we entered the Pittsburgh game, Saquon hadn't gone for less than 100 yards the previous 4 weeks, but in this game, he would be held to only 65 yards, putting him off the trail to break the record. However, the Eagles still came out on top, looking forward to the following week against the Commanders, where Barkley would once again go for over 100 yards, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 68-yard breakout run in a shootout with the Commanders, where we will unfortunately see Jalen Hurts leave the game early due to a concussion. The Eagles would come up short 36-33, and Saquon would still be a little bit off the trail of breaking the record, having a total of 1,838 rushing yards to Eric Dickerson 2007 at similar points in the season. But this would all change against the Dallas Cowboys. Against the Cowboys, he would go absolutely off with 167 yards. It was just enough to put him back in range of taking that regular season record away from Eric Dickerson, needing just 100 yards to do so. But then a decision would be made, and this sent the media world into a frenzy.
I hate this decision, but I want to preface it by saying that I understand it.
It cost y'all $5 million for me to sit out, or I'm going to raise holy hell. Give me $5 million. I shut it down.
A decision Saquon is going to have to live with as the Eagles prepared to make a playoff run.
Yeah, coach asked me what I like to do. We had a conversation. He called me back and let me know that we're probably going to be resting. And my reaction was kind of like I told my family. Obviously, my family probably wanted a little bit more than me. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is winning football games and winning the playoffs. So I got a bigger goal in mind anyway.
So even with that part of history being off the table, Saquon still had a chance to cement his name in the history books after having a regular season that will be remembered for years to come, as he will still always be remembered as one of the few running backs to get over 2,000 yards, finishing with 2,005. As Saquon and the Eagles prepare for the playoffs with the season rushing record now a goal of the past, there are two other achievements Saquon could check off the list: the most rushing yards in a single season with the playoffs included, and a Super Bowl championship. Those goals get closer and closer as Saquon continues to dominate. 119 yards, which should have been more.
Keep running! No one catching your stuff. Keep running!
Another dominant performance to add to an already incredible season with the Rams coming up, a team he had already dominated before. And this time around would be no different. 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 78-yard long run. Saquon had done it again, as the Eagles would now face off against the Washington Commanders, who just upset the NFC title favorite in the Detroit Lions. But just like they beat the Lions, the Washington Commanders would suffer from the turnover bug, leading to the Eagles winning the game 55-33. But even before multiple turnovers would pop up, we knew Saquon would dominate this game off the very first play. He only needed 15 carries to reach 118 yards with a total of 3 touchdowns, leading the Eagles to becoming the 2024 NFC champions.
This flock of Eagles is heading to New Orleans.
Birthday party in New Orleans. Stupid.
But the task at hand was not yet over, as the NFC championship was great, and it was at this point Saquon more than proved that he could be the key piece in a winning culture. The most important goal of them all was still one game away, with the back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs standing in their way, a Chiefs defense under Steve Spagnuolo that has not allowed a 100-yard rusher in the playoffs, and well, this is what we will see next.
For the second time, the Vince Lombardi Trophy is headed to Philadelphia.
Took me 7 years. I didn't think it would take it this long, but you're here. It's amazing, man.
He had a quick flashback before making his catch.
Now it's going to float one for Barkley, who...
And then the Eagles would go on to absolutely dominate the Chiefs, winning 40-22. And although the Chiefs defense kept him from having an insane game, only 57 yards on the day, he would stand atop with the most rushing yards in NFL history when you include the playoffs.
The most important thing was winning the Super Bowl, because if we didn't win today, all those accolades and all those yards wouldn't mean anything, to be honest. So, I don't want to downplay it, because I couldn't do it without the boys up front, and I know how much that means to them. For me, I'm thankful, couldn't do it without God, but I like that Lombardi Trophy a little bit more.
He capped off the regular season by becoming an first-team All-Pro, winning Offensive Player of the Year. Now he is a Super Bowl champion and played a major role in winning that championship on his birthday, might I add. So, in my honest opinion, this has to be one of the greatest revenge stories in NFL history.